It's all good to go.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This week is Community and Rising, and it's significant because we're halfway through our course and we are supporting each other and ourselves, and maybe even pushing ourselves to expand beyond self and kind of our ideas we have for the world, and our visions and dreams and perhaps thoughts about things that are happening in the world. And we're challenging ourselves to expand outward. Hey, Karina, just like mine, you're tapping is on, so you mute yourself.
Sorry, actually, can I just quickly jump in? Is everyone seeing Kate on the big square at the moment, or is it just my computer that's doing something weird?
Am I on the big square?
Yeah, are people at the moment? I'm just seeing Courtney in large, and Kate's not coming up as the dominant person, which is okay. I'm just going to unmute some of the others. What are you guys?
Small square, and you can read in the chat, but you can't see.
Okay, so I think maybe Kate, if you speak a bit louder or something, someone was saying that might help. You go to the dominant screen.
Okay, why don't you mute yours then if you're going to type as well. So, okay, can you hear me now? Am I on the main screen? Okay, great, cool. Okay, so this week is about, we're transitioning from self, more of our relationship with nature and our spiritual practice and feeling in, very much like setting the foundation. And now we're expanding outwards to take this confidence and this yes, this full body yes for what we're working on, beyond our own selves into our community. And this is important because it's less cerebral. It's more active. So we're going to, we've adjusted our agenda a little bit to be less of us talking at you, which we love to do. And that's really great because we have so much to share. But we know you do as well. So what we're doing this week is really allowing us to be in community with each other and practice a little bit of the kind of the challenging emotions or breaking through or transitions or transcendence that sometimes prevent us from taking action in our own communities. So we have a few exercises today and opportunities for you guys to share and kind of work through those emotions right here with us in this safe space, so that you feel a little bit more confident and prepared when you really want to take these ideas or actions or campaigns to your community. You feel like, okay, I am supported. I have this community supporting me. But also you feel like I've worked through some of those initial fears that maybe prevent us. If people are scared of public speaking, or of expressing their ideas or publishing their writing, or these sorts of things that sometimes prevent us from taking action. So we want to drop into those emotions and those fears and those barriers that we create for ourselves and work through them right here together. So that's a little bit of what we're going to be doing. That's the feeling of what we're doing today. And now Karina's going to take us through our welcome to country and a grounding activity. Then we're going to hear from you. So we're going to have a 1-minute check-in from each of you about how you're doing, where you're at, what you need from the course. We're halfway through. So it's really important for us that we are in a little community here. We're rising in this community. So we're having a 1-minute check-in. So you're going to be able to tell us where you're at. If you're struggling, if you're like, I don't really know what's going on, I don't have any clarity, or I have this idea, I really need support, I'm ready to go, so that's your time to check in with us. And then we're going to do a little bit of content related to the PDF that you were sent And then we're going to have another activity, another sharing activity, where we go a little bit deeper into your specific community or your sense of belonging, and how we can kind of like shift and work through what's holding us back. A little bit of shadow work, which is fun, which is really important for our growth and transformation. And then we're going to have a little Q&A. So then we'll have a question and answer at the end. So if you have any confusions or questions about the course or anything thus far, you can ask them then. So lots of sharing this week. I'm really excited about it. Again, our intention is to connect with you and support you. We could talk at you in like we could send you a million videos of us talking about this stuff, but this is our 1 hour and 15 minutes we have with you. Like, it's such precious time. So I'm really excited to hear a lot from you this week. And with that, take it away, Karina.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kate. So, as in every week, but particularly important in this week, and all of the content, if you guys got a chance to look at the PDF and what was in that around what community means and looking at different aspects of what community is to us, I would like to start off by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land. The land that I'm on is Wadawurrung country, which is the bottom of Australia, as I mentioned before, and I'm in Geelong at the moment. And so this is a very ancient culture, and I've had an absolute privilege of, in the last 3 weeks, being up the top of Australia on land with elders, really connecting in a different way to community. And I really would like to honour the First Nation people of all of the lands that we come from. So from all of the different parts of the world that we, as our own Rise to the Call community, are joining here together, from all of these beautiful lands, and how much they cared and were custodians and caretakers and stewards of those lands. So really like to offer my respect to any elders, past, present and future. And so when we do these groundings, they are for many reasons. It's to drop us into the now and into the presence, but it's also to invite in those that journey with us. And so you can either do this with your eyes open or closed. This is not, it's not imperative that you have your eyes closed for this one, but just really imagining all of the people that I'm welcoming into this space when we're talking about community. So I'd like to start by welcoming in the traditional custodians, but also welcoming in the spirits of the land that we're from, our earth community, our broader, larger body community, and all of the energies and spirits that dance on these lands. I want to welcome in the community of the more than human world. So our sisters and brothers of the animal world. Their gifts and their presence just as important and valid as ours is on this land. They're continually offering of support to us through the bees, giving us pollinated food, to the sharks, keeping the hierarchy within our oceans, being the cleaners of the oceans so that we can still eat from the oceans those that need to. I welcome in our ancestors, that deep time community that we spoke of, and understanding that we are part of a family that is hundreds of years old. They help us act our age. They help us and stand behind us in everything that we do. And we imagine all of those footsteps of those communities that have brought us here today. The amazing story of humankind that has gotten us to this point. We welcome in their roots that are so deep in the story of the human experience. Those strong roots that allow us to rise and allow us to offer our branches out as fruitful offerings to the next future generations. And in that, we welcome the future generations, our larger, broader community of human beings. And we realize that us ourselves are the ancestors of the future generations, that this community already exists with us on earth at this time, and that our story and their story is not separate, and that our actions are essentially carving the landscapes of the future generations, of that community that journeys with us. And then we welcome in our current and immediate community, whether that's our family, our friends, the place we live, the people we connect with, our space that we're going to actually make the impact, that we're going to connect into to thrive, the resources we draw on, the love we receive. And then we also welcome in, of course, our Rise to the Call community, our community that is with us today, right this moment, our international community with our shared vision and our shared purpose of our absolute love for this earth and this world and this life that we've been gifted. We welcome in that community. And we send gratitude to every single different community that we mentioned here today. And we realize that we are not part of just one small definition of community, but it's this layers upon layers upon layers of this beautiful community of earth that we're from. So just taking a breath to finish that off. And coming to eyes open if you don't already have them open. And joining our immediate community right now as the Rise to Call community. Kate, over to you, my love.
Thank you, Karina. That was so beautiful. Now it is time to hear from you, our community. So again, what we're checking in with you right now is how you're doing, and how you're feeling about the course, how you're feeling about the material, how you're feeling about your campaign, anything that you want to share right now, what you need. Really want to hear from you in terms of where you're at. So we'll do our traditional way of just typing your name into the chat when you're ready to share, and Karina will unmute you, and then we'll be able to hear from you for about a minute. So who would like to go first? Again, it's just an easy, no pressure, just sharing how you're feeling. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be specific to your campaign or anything like that. Just like where you're at. We just want to hear from you. We want to give you a chance to speak. All right, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the course. I definitely last week, after all of that emotional release, I felt really just in my own head for a few days. Even though it was a lot of release work, I think it kind of really like hit me again. You know, I feel like this type of work comes in waves, and you'll be on like a high for ages, and you'll be like, yeah, going for it and feeling really positive, and then some days you can just feel super overwhelmed, and you have to just kind of sit with it and ride it out and find some clarity with it. So I did a meditation out in the garden, and then when I came out of the meditation, it sounds really random, but I saw all the grass there, and I was like looking at all the individual little bits of grass, and I was like, I can't save every little piece of grass because there was just so many. There was like this whole lawn, and that kind of just, it like came through my head, and I was like, okay, like you can't do everything. So I think you try to jump to that, how can I do everything right now? And then you kind of forget that it doesn't really work like that, unfortunately. So yeah, that was really good, and I've definitely got through that now, which is nice. And my kind of project that I'm working on is, I've been away traveling for about 5 or 6 years, so I haven't really lived at home for that long, and I came back in December and knew that I wanted to do something for myself and in this kind of activism route, I guess. So I started hosting workshops, like plastic-free workshops like Kate does, like talking to people about changing their lifestyle and like making their own products and doing like self-love practices and meditation within that. That was definitely outside of my comfort zone. But I loved it, and they've been going really, really well. But my thoughts and issues with it are that I felt like I was getting a certain type of person coming, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I would just love to reach like a more diverse audience, and maybe those people that have never been introduced to that type of lifestyle, because I think some people have just never lived like that, and you can kind of live in a bubble sometimes. So I'd love to find ways of integrating it more into different communities and even like schools and within my local council, things like that. Because people have approached me and said, oh, have you got funding for what you're doing? And I'm just like oblivious. I kind of want to just always do everything myself. I'm like, no, I'm just doing it myself. And obviously you put a lot of money and time and energy into these things. People have suggested to me like doing it to younger groups of like children, and I'd like to find some ways to kind of broaden my audience and see how that goes. So that's kind of my plan. I'm just debating where to go with the workshops also, because I'm so interested in food and nutrition, and I'm studying health coaching as well. I kind of sometimes feel overwhelmed with all of the directions that I could go and where I could be of most use to people. Because I don't want to just be targeting one type of person, if that makes sense. So sorry if that was a ramble.
Perfect. I think a few great shares, a few great things in that share, especially this kind of like need to do everything yourself, or just feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm here doing all of these things. So we're addressing that today, and as we talk about the team, building a team, and what kind of personality kind of like goes towards this like needing to do everything by myself. So thank you for bringing that up. And then also how to expand beyond the echo chamber. This is something that I'm super interested in at the moment as well. This is something that I hope we get to discuss more today, because you're right. Preaching to the choir is great because it's lovely to hear the choir sing, but what really is going to change the world is when we engage with, Karina and I sometimes call them like the red lights, or the people that aren't usually, that don't move. We engage with the green lights are on our side. They're the echo chamber, they're the people that speak our language, and the yellow lights are kind of like the people who are like, I don't really know. And those are the people we focus on, and we're like, yes, we can transform you and get you on our side. And then the red lights are like, don't even bother, like they don't believe in climate change. Like they don't believe, it's like, nah. But now we're realizing that these are the people that we actually have to connect with and transform. So I think just discussing maybe on the Facebook page strategies to reach them is something really valid. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, Gabby.
Hi. I'm glad to be able to voice my opinions and things like in person now, which is nice. But go Courtney. Awesome things you're doing. I really love the course so far, because I think, I don't know, within my friendship group and within my community, I guess I'm very much singled out as like someone who cares about the environment, like among a few people. But it is something that has kind of become my brand, which I felt a bit weird about initially. And so like I'm basically at university, and I live in like a residential college, and there I've become the environmental coordinator along with another girl. And what we've tried to do this year is to really like destigmatize what it means to care for the environment. I think a lot of people think, at least in my age group of about 20, like early 20s, they think, you have to dress as a hippie and, like reading certain books to care for the environment. I think that connects to the idea that, someone else is going to save the world. But having said that, in terms of connecting with a wider community, we're also trying to do that. And there's a very large international community within the residence I live in. And I found there that I was talking to a guy, and he was talking to me about, why do you care for the environment? Coming to Australia, I can see how intact your environment is. Like, everything's perfect here. Why do people think it's a problem? And I found that really fascinating. And so I guess maybe a first step would be to listen to the people that don't really fully understand, why you care for what you're caring about. And I think that should go for anything that you care about. You should often explain why, and kind of go to a deeper level. But for me, I think the biggest problem I've faced is I'm very much, my attention span on a project is very short. Like, I'll go for something and then come up with another idea and another idea. But right now I'm trying to work on doing talks with my community in the short term on plastic and the plastic problem, and kind of communicate the issues through anecdotes and stories and analogies, and hopefully pull in a wider audience. And then in the longer term, I have this real, I don't know what it is, but this real call to do something with dance, like dance performance, like a big production, to make people connect to the environment through extreme beauty. Because I remember I went and saw the ballet with my mum, and that was I think it was Swan Lake. And everybody that went there was a very high socioeconomic group of people. And everyone came out there and they were just absolutely touched, and they walked out thinking, I wish I could be a ballet dancer. I wish I could do something and have this beauty. And I think there's power in that. They were obviously touched. So if we can express the beauty of the world through dance and through a production like that, it will tap into an audience that doesn't often think about their environmental impacts of their lifestyle and things. And I don't know, could be potential there. But that was also a ramble. Hopefully that was valuable to someone. Yeah. That's
absolutely. Thank you, Gabby. Yeah, definitely beautiful in terms of thinking about how, structuring our campaigns or our strategy to include arts and mixed media. I mean, when we talk about reaching beyond our echo chamber, you're right, that's a beautiful method to kind of permeate less obvious audiences. So I think that's a genius kind of approach is how can we get more creative, or how can we weave this messaging into kind of unexpected places. So I love that point. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, another share around being kind of the one in the group or the one friend that's environmentalist. So it's so great that you're talking about and destigmatizing. That's an incredible campaign on its own, destigmatizing loving the environment. I mean, it's so funny, but that's definitely something that we can normalize. It's a whole campaign worthy of building a strategy, an arc of how do we, what do we want maybe our college campus to look like or feel like, or all the people in our group, how do we want them to act and be? How do we get there? It's build, the strategy, the steps we take in our strategy, what points or headlines do we need to accomplish in order to create this kind of final point. So yeah, that strategy, that storyline is what keeps us prevents us from getting distracted as well, because I'm very much the similar. I get really excited about all different things. So it's when you have a strategy to get you to that end point is what keeps you on path, which is more of a resource that we'll be discussing or practicing next week, but definitely worth mentioning this week.
And I can jump in really quickly. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear name. Cool. Just wanted to jump in really quickly as well. I'm not going to respond to you or Courtney. I could speak on those things for ages. But just to encourage you, like the things that you've spoken about are amazing, and like what your resources that you've developed and the things that you're giving to the community. And I really encourage, if you feel called, to share some of those strategies on the Facebook page so you guys can learn from each other, because, you know, the destigmatizing of the environment as something that people can act on, like things that you've tried, things that you've learned, those type of things, like if you share that on the page, will really help other people on their journey as well. Same with what Courtney was speaking about. I won't go into any detail, but I just was like, oh, I just want to encourage that before I go on. But then we've got Rose. 1 second, it's being, all right, there you go.
Okay, good. So I'm Rose. I'm coming from Colorado. It's 1:30 here and it feels like winter. It's crazy. But so from the youngest age, I always knew I wanted to do something really big. I wanted to make an impact. But my family is very, I would say, Republican, kind of redneck here in Colorado. And anytime I voiced this, I just got a lot of like, there's nothing you can do and you won't have to worry about it in your lifetime. And it was just very like discouraging. And I kind of got sick of arguing with them, right? And like trying to like change their mindset, because if I can't even change like my family's mindset, how am I going to reach like, you know, bigger audiences and stuff? So I kind of for the longest time just didn't even voice this like inner passion of, you know, helping make an impact and stuff. But then when I was living in Hawaii, and I actually saw, like, you could see the effects of plastic like washed up on the beaches, and that's where like that inner fire really became strong again. And I always had visions of creating art projects, like creating beauty from the plastic. And like I had like dreams of like creating sculptures, like public art for people to see and inspire. But then I ended up getting pregnant and I moved back to Colorado. And so now that I'm here, I'm kind of in this place where you don't see the effects as much. Like, yes, I see plastics everywhere and it like kind of kills me a little bit on the inside, but it's really hard to reach people and talk to people about it, because it's like, oh, like we got recycling or whatever. But little did you know, like all this recycling is being shipped out to Indonesia on the black market. And it's, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to like find my voice here in this community that has no knowledge of like what's really going on. And I do make art and like ocean themed art in Colorado. And I just started getting out into the community more. And I did my first farmer's market last week, and I'm going to be selling proceeds of my art to like Save the Mermaids Foundation and like, you know, things like that. But I would like to do, you know, bigger scale, like what can I really do in my community, and then beyond too. And so I've booked another like event with a booth that's Yoga on the Mountain in like Aspen, Colorado. And I feel like there would be like a good reach there, but I still don't know what I'm going to do. Like I have a booth, but like I'm not sure what it is I'm going to be, you know, I'll have my art and stuff, but yeah, I'm still trying to find clarity and fine tune that vision for really how I want to give back and create that community, kind of grassroots, maybe arts. But then when Gabby was talking, it made me think of that, like that time in Hawaii where I wanted to create beauty from the plastic. And I'm thinking that could be kind of, you know, use those talents, my creative talents, to maybe do some stuff like that here. So yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah. I'm just kind of struggling to find how it's all going to kind of fit together and what direction I want to go. But
awesome. Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for donating to Save the Mermaids. It's really exciting. So Gosh, that is so great that you have an event that you're booked at and you have a booth. I mean, you're doing stuff, you're impacting your community, and I think that's a really interesting topic for discussion for us in terms of how we connect or break through these red lights. The Republican family. I mean, I had an experience similar to this recently, and it's really tough. It's really emotionally trying. So how do we, without draining ourselves, reach those people? That's one conversation, that's one campaign, that's one community that we maybe want to address, but we want to have strategy when we do it. We don't want to just go in there being like, listen to us. It's like, this is the kind of like activism that requires a little bit more intentionality. And so how we build that campaign so that we identify the key stakeholders and decision makers in that community, we target them instead of going for just like random people in that group that's all red lights. It's like, who are the top people? Who are the people that we could influence? Who are the people on like the fringe, or who have like, there's a chart that we use in activism. I'm gonna use this. I don't know if you can even see this. Okay, it's like an L, and it's basically like, oh, please find a marker. No. Okay, whatever. So it's like we have people, we've got people of influence, and we've got people who are aligned with our message. And we're trying to move to the happy place of like on our team and on our side. And sometimes when we identify people of influence, they might be, it's basically like identifying all the people in a particular group or an audience that you're trying to sway, this entire like maybe right-wing Republican, upper class, whatever, these people. And then you identify your allies within that group, or you identify people that have influence within that group that might be a little bit closer. So like maybe they're like Republican, but they love skiing, or they're like, they vote, they're like, they have oil connections, but they participate in the farm, they go to the farmers market. So like finding a few of these people in that group that might be that you can kind of move them closer to your side and like develop relationships with those people. So that's like a little minor strategy in like the bigger picture of trying to like move that massive group tough, but that's kind of what I'm doing with my plastics work, right? It's like, okay, people don't care about whales washing up with bellies full of plastic. Okay, people don't care about the beaches like full of plastic. People don't care about the oceans full of plastic like we do. We're in the echo chamber. But like the mass public, no, they care when we tell them that their drinking water is full of microplastics. They care when we tell them that the food packaging is leaching chemicals into their food that's causing them to man boobs and like infertility and cancer and heart disease. Those are the things that actually resonate with people. So it's like finding those the things that actually get through, and then building a campaign around that. So I'm sorry, such a tangent. This is supposed to be your share time, sorry guys. But I do feel like there's a lot to be said around that. And then I also want to support you. Maybe Rose, you could share on the Facebook group ideas for your booth, like give us a little bit more context of like who's coming to that event and what other booths are doing or whatever, and then we can all kind of contribute to sharing our ideas and suggestions for what you could do at the booth. Okay, who's next?
That Elizabeth, and I just unmuted you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So I'm also in Colorado right now. I'm in Telluride. And let's see, the past few weeks have been a little bit crazy for me as I sort of started driving in my van again. And I also don't really have much of a community because I haven't stayed in one place for more than about 3 months in probably 10 years. So my my life has been pretty interrupted in terms of creating a community, and I sort of have more, I guess, of like a global network than anything. So I guess my community is more on sort of the social media ways of keeping up with the people that I meet while I travel and that sort of thing. That recently has presented a bit of a mental obstacle for me because I feel like I'd like to be in one place for a while, um, in order to sort of make strides on the work that I'm doing, because it's really inconsistent for me to be able to, sit down and plug in and connect and do the emailing that I need to do, and I can brainstorm, in nature while I hike or while I drive and that sort of thing. But it's more difficult for me to sort of sit down and get the writing part of it done, or the the sort of tangible ideas put together. Recently, about last week, I did purchase land in the Amazon, which is one of my biggest concerns. I work with Indigenous medicine, so it's really, really important for me to be able to preserve that land, just in sort of sacred reciprocity of the medicines that come out of the jungles, and how important the Amazon is pretty much to the planet as a whole. So I feel really good about that project. And then in sort of the other half of me that's not working with Indigenous medicine, I also do photography and videography, and I create media. And so I'm actually finally getting a little bit of clarity shed in these two practices and offerings that I have, in that I'm going to, what I was actually told to me in ceremony by some of the medicines that I work with, how I can use these two practices together. And so in purchasing land in the Amazon, I'm going to go down to that community and start creating storytelling about the people in the Amazon and how it's directly affecting them, and sort of the specific stories of the land down there, and the people and the stewards of those lands, and the farmers and the workers, and sort of all of the storytelling from individuals that we don't really get to hear. And I'm not really sure how to go about sharing it, whether it's going to be kind of for my own social media networks, or if I can, um, propose it, I guess, to somewhere like Rainforest Action Network or Rainforest Alliance or something like that. Um, but that's probably the project that I'm putting most of my energy towards right now, and I'm just allowing sort of, yeah, my long days on the road, or my long hikes or whatever, to reconnect and get the clarity from that. And then trying to find ways to stop using the fact that I'm on the road as an excuse not to do anything, because it's really frustrating for me. But I have to try and put that aside, because I need to be sort of more present and enjoying exactly where I am, while still getting the balls rolling on these other projects. So that's a bit of my challenge and my success for the past couple weeks, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, fellow gypsy. Yeah, it is. This is something that Karina is going to address a little bit later in our conversation today. It's about how we create home and belonging, regardless of where we are, because so many of us feel like the one environmental person in our community, or the one, plastic avoider, and regardless of where we are, where we're moving, sometimes it feels like we're alone, even if we're in a community or we're in our home community. And so how we kind of create that feeling of comfort and belong and heldness, regardless of where we are. And I think it's so beautiful that you are, like, very brave of you to do this work in the Amazon, a place, like, you're right, it so desperately needs protecting. So I commend you. Thank you for taking that action. And again, bringing arts, bringing photography to a campaign like Saving the Amazon. I mean, that's such a storytelling technique. That's such a strategy, you know, that's so rich. If anything's going to save the Amazon, it's the imagery of the incredible biodiversity. You know, that's what people resonate with, is these incredible stories of healing herbs and plants and flowers, but also the animals and the mysteries and all that magic that we still have yet to discover. So I think you're on it, you're on path, you're doing it, you're, you know, that's the story. And I think, you know, enjoy your wandering, your hiking, all of this time in nature in your home country to see what and start practicing with that, you know, start telling stories with your photography here and see what works and what doesn't. Test your online community, test the physical communities that you pass through, and that could be, you know, you could trial some of the things that you want to maybe launch or prepare or strategize for when you're there. Okay, so thank you, Elizabeth. And yeah, let's go to Annie.
Hi, I'm hoping it's not too loud here. I'm just on my commute home, walking past a bit of traffic. But just heading back, I guess, to your original question about the course, I've found it really good to have accountability. I have bought so many books, self-help books, you know, just like they give me all the tools, and I felt like I always had the tools, but I never filled out one of the journals, and I never did one of the books that I bought. And at the time when I'd bought them, I didn't really know what my passion was either. I didn't really have this environmental flair, so or this interest. So the accountability has been really good for me, because I actually do the journal every week when you send them, and even just like joining the webinar and discussing and hearing what everyone else is doing is really, really useful. That's just my feedback for the course.
Great. So happy that you're enjoying it and that it's working for you. And I'm grateful that you called in on your commute. And I was kind of excited if you're maybe on a train, and say hi to everyone on the train. So yeah, thank you for that. That's great feedback. I'm really glad that the journals and the format is working for you. And yeah,
I think the webinar is really important. I don't know. I just feel like I want to be prepared when we talk, and just doing the journals before gets me thinking. And I don't know, I think also because if you pay for the course as well, it kind of makes you want to put the effort in. That's how I work anyway. So like, I've, you know, paid for this course, you know, I should be making the time for it and scheduling the time in for it. Whereas usually, you know, I've bought other self-help books or things like that, and it's so easy to just put yourself aside and get on with everyday like work and whatever else you've got on.
Totally. Thank you. Thanks so much, Annie. Appreciate your feedback.
No worries.
All right, let's go to Hannah.
Hi there. I just want to say, yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this too. Like, particularly like the ancestors and deep time theory this week was just so poignant for me. Because I'm like pretty much living in the desert this year, and sometimes you can just get so lost in it being so barren or so hot and so dry, that you just think, oh, like there's no life out here. And then you do different things, like I got to National Park or help out with the neighbours, and they're like running this program to introduce mammals, and you're just like, oh my god, there is so much life out here. And I think connecting to the ancestors and highlighting that was just so gorgeous and spiritual, and I just really, really enjoyed that aspect this week, that we have to create a positive future because we are going to be ancestors, and I think that was really cool to think about in more depth. And so I really liked that. And then I think it also came at a really good time. Like I was sort of already thinking about different stuff, and then this is solidifying everything, and it comes, once you talk about it on here, then everything just starts to align and come up in, everyday conversations with other people, or you just notice it more, or just different stuff. And I think that's really cool that that happens, that everything starts to line up. Like the more you know, the more you seem to know, when everything just, you're just aware of so much more stuff. So that's really cool. And then, yeah, I'm sort of with a couple of different people on the art path. Like, I'd be really keen, because I sort of always feel that, like, my everywhere, that I just had to find something that I could put it into sort of one thing. And I think for me that's some sort of book, or children's book in particular, to, adults can read it to their kids, and there'll be really nice illustrations in there to highlight. Like, I'm really keen to highlight the natural beauty of somewhere, and as well as educating, which I'm pretty passionate about, especially for kids, because I'm teaching this year on the station now. So I think that's been pretty important for me. And then the last week with the ancestor stuff, including a lot more potentially like Indigenous names or animals or whatever that I draw, and then highlighting, Australia's extinction rate, but instead of it being like a negative thing, which obviously, losing so many mammals is, making it, highlighting their beauty and the importance of saving them. So, yeah, that's been really cool. And yeah.
Thank you very much. I am no longer muted. I was just saying, Hannah, I really love your idea of the storybook. I think that's a gorgeous idea, and would be such a useful tool that would just continue. So if you're up for sharing a little bit of your process on the Facebook page, and maybe starting a Google document where you start writing about things that you want to share and educate on, and that sort of thing. And if you get stuck, use the Facebook page as a resource to check in. And some of you guys who are also on a bit more of an artistic path, maybe there's an opportunity for collaboration. So thank you, Hannah. All right, I think now Jackie.
Hello everyone. So thank you for sharing all your stories. It's so fascinating, because it's like, oh yeah, I resonate with that bit. And all the creative people, or the people who's feeling like they're like the black sheep, or like I'm just like noting these down and like putting little markers on the things that I resonate with. But it's fascinating because for me, a lot of the stuff that's coming up is about my personal growth, which is kind of relates to the post that I had put up on our Facebook group page, and Courtney and Karina had lovely comments on it. But it's just like this feeling of guilt when you're working on yourself in the midst of all this, like, yeah, let's go out there and let's create change and do all these positive things. And it's like, that's great, of course, and that has its place. But of course, if you're all about external, then you kind of start forgetting about this, and then it gets really overwhelming. So for me, a lot of it's just like, I feel like I'm being more grounded, and that I'm realizing a lot of stuff, which is then setting up a good foundation for future projects and investments. But at the moment, my interest lies, of course, in environmental stuff, but it's also about redefining a lot of, I guess, definitions we've put out there. So, like success or further education. I mean, like, of course, there's no prejudice against all that. It's just like, I personally feel like, yeah, there's this alternative pathway, and there's options out there, But what else is out there that we can do? And a lot of that's, of course, working on my spiritual journey as well, and connecting to self and connecting to nature, and sharing it with others. For me, personally, it's like, it's not so much that I'm a starter of movements or projects and such. It's more like I'm an observer, and then I reflect it back to the world. And it's sort of hard to go through that journey, because there's a lot of like, let's start something, and then all these movements start happening, and then I start feeling like I need to start something, when in fact it's just like I feel like I need to just be still and watch what's going on and see all the different things that's happening, share about it, document about it. And I've had blogs before, or like sharing on social media and stuff. But this storytelling aspect, and this reflecting the current state of the world and people's dreams and hopes for the future, I feel like that's more my pathway than actually creating something. I'm not sure if any of you are have heard about human design. Slightly off topic, but it's just like the Myers and Briggs thing. It's like a similar thing, but I'm a projector, and so I'm not someone who manifests things. I'm not someone who starts things. It's sort of like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm just feeling like with this course, I'm getting the opportunity to just sit with myself and to just really get stuff out in my own way, and instead of feeling influenced to do it certain ways. And it's great to have had that progress and that process of trying different things out. But right now, as someone said, it feels like it's kind of come at the right time. It's like I'm able to just, go out there and sort of forge this path for myself, that still contributes and have my own offerings to the world, but it's just like different to how people do it. So I mean, there is a project I'm working on at the moment. I'm creating a website, and I'm all self-taught, and I have a thing called a collective, and I'm basically asking friends and family to contribute their pieces. So it could be art, it could be poems, it could be images, it could be a written article, it could be research, resources, whatnot, on certain topics. And I release the topics every few months, and I'm just starting that at the moment, so nothing's actually set. But it's quite amazing the amount of feedback that people has given me. They're like, oh, this is so exciting, I've been wanting to do something like this for ages. So it feels great to be able to hold space for people, and I'm okay with like stepping away from the limelight and like having other people take the credit. And that's the other thing, it's like it's breaking down the ego thing, of like, before it's all like, I want to go out there so people can see me and I'm acknowledged and stuff. And at the moment it's more like, all right, let's actually let go and see what comes out instead. So that's what's happening with me.
Thank you, Jackie. Wow, I love how humble this share was, and how you spoke so much about how you're a reflector and how you're an observer, and then as a side note, you share kind of what you've created and what you are creating, what you're building, and this community, this platform, for sharing. I mean, that's gorgeous. What an offering. What a gathering place. I hope that you share this journey and what you're learning, as Karina encouraged. I'm so grateful that you mentioned that, Kaz, because I think it's true. It's like the Facebook page is such a place where we can kind of like, I hope we can all talk about these things, like as you, Jackie, are finding successes and as you create this amazing place for people to share, you know, you're holding space, you are allowing other people to shine, and you're observing and you're reflecting, but you're giving people a place to do that. So I just think it's really incredible, and thank you. And I hope we can support you in that more, and in whatever direction you choose to take it. I am going to hand over to Karina. Thank you all so much for your shares. It's so special to be able to tune in with you and hear where you're at, and kind of explore more about where you want to take this and where you're at. And just really proud of you all, and I'm really proud and humbled and grateful here. Okay, go for it, Kaz.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your amazing shares. Kate, I just wanted to quickly touch in with you. Would we like to jump straight onto that activity, and I share the Vote with Your Dollar as plus responses to people sharing in the live on Facebook, or do you want me to do just go with what we're saying? I'm just aware of the time.
Yeah, no, good point. I think, yeah, let's jump into the activity. I think I might maybe I'll just talk about the Team Time Compass just as like a 1 second or just a 1 minute thing, because I want to give you guys like tools and resources as well. And I think this is something that's been so helpful for me, is just identifying who we are on that compass. Did you guys all see that in the PDF? So it's basically like, you know, as I hear Jackie kind of talk about, like, I like to sit back and reflect and hear and observe. And I hear Courtney say, you know, I just am out there, I'm just doing stuff, I'm doing workshops, and I don't really know, you know, it's like we're different, and we're all kind of like here for the same reasons, but our approach is different. And it's interesting to see how people show up and how people turn up, and what skills we have and what we have to offer. And so I just want to kind of point that out at this point, or at this point in our conversation, because that's the point of this week, is that we are we're trying to work together. You know, we're trying to not isolate ourselves as like the one person working on this issue, but instead collaborate and work together and share our skill sets. So as you move forward in your campaigns, you know, as Rose, you like go to your event and you have your booth, like who can you bring with you? Like who might contribute or amplify your message or your impact? Courtney, like, are there people, you know, can you bring assistants in, or can you bring other people of influence, or can you reach out? You know, it's like we're kind of on here's my great visual for the day, north again, you know, the urgent action. They're just doing it without planning. They're not maybe thinking about like the consequences. They just feel like urgent, we just need to get this done. The east, the dreamers, like they see the big vision. The south, this is like the nurturing, the social, holding everyone together. And then the west, the analyst, the detail oriented. So always trying to have like one of each in your field to just kind of hold, make sure you're covering all the bases in your campaigning or your community building or that sort of thing. So identifying who you are and how you operate, and then trying to fill in the other aspects of that compass will really support your work and help you make sure that you're not forgetting anything. You know, like your West person might be like, did you consider the fact that we have no evidence to be that's, you know, whatever, like round out your team. And always remember that you don't have to do things alone, and to reach out and invite other people to join you so that you're more effective and it's more sustainable, so you don't burn out. Okay, to Karina's activity.
Beautiful, thank you. So what I was going to share earlier, I'm actually going to pop on as a video on Facebook, because I feel like that one you can just watch, and whereas this activity, it's interactive, so we need to be present and here. So this activity is about, following on from what Kate said about community. Who do we have with us? Who are we journeying with? Who are we gathering into our purpose and into our project or our campaign, or even just who are we reflecting back to? So thinking about who our community is, but also looking at what is community. And a big part for me and for many people is the importance of belonging to something, belonging to something greater than oneself, whether that's an earth community or your immediate community. And that innate human response of wanting to be a part and connected to something. And so that's what we're going to actually be dropping into is how are we, in what we're trying to achieve, creating community, but how are we also creating belonging? And so in this such uncertain time of, for me, I feel like sometimes the earth is moving underneath my feet. There is so much uncertainty and change, and all of these things are happening. And how do we then create that community, that container, and that belonging, so people feel like they want to give their time, their energy, their resources to us, that belonging, that connection. So just for a moment, thinking about, eyes closed or open, whatever suits you, just thinking about and focusing on what your campaign is, your project, your purpose, whatever your calling is, what leader you're being called to step into, what role of leadership that is needed of you, that's there asking for you to come, to do it, to be there, to offer your gifts, whatever it is that you're focusing on at the moment. Just taking a bit of a breath into that. And now this is an invitation in the next few breaths to think about what it is that is acting as a barrier for you stepping fully into your potential, fully into creating that community, creating that belonging, or creating that campaign. So trying to identify something personally that's acting, how you might be getting in your own way, how you might be blocking yourself. So just feeling what that might be. And then if you have your eyes closed, just coming to open them. And what we're going to do is we're going to share what belonging means to us, and also what it is that's blocking us from moving forward. We all have things. I have things, Kate has things that are barriers and shadows that are self-made or from our history or whatever it is, that is acting as a barrier of us moving forward, a wall to us really being our full selves or achieving what it is that we have been put here on that earth. And so this is the shadow work that Kate mentioned. And we're going to witness each other's barrier. And why we're witnessing that is to bring that shadow into the light. And in doing that, we give it less power. We give a name to it. So we name what it is. And in naming it, it gives space to be able to shift it, to move past it, to become the leaders that the world needs, that we need to be. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a shedding and allowing ourselves to be able to negotiate through those barriers. So I would love if, so it's a quick share, and it's just tapping into that. What is my barrier, and being witnessed in that? So my barrier is da 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 da, and sharing that. So if you want to add your name, the same as always, to the bottom of our little typey box. And this is a way for us to better achieve what it is that we're here to do. So, yeah, just when you're ready, you can pop your name down there. Beautiful. We got Jackie. Here we go.
For me, my barrier is my mindset to money. It's been an ongoing thing and it's something I'm working on, but this whole thing of trying to shine a light on maybe any sabotaging mindsets I've got around money, and anything that's sort of set like way before, like I subconsciously say, and it sort of feels like sometimes I can't do things until I've got a certain amount of money, or unless I've got that financial freedom, which then makes me feel stuck because I feel like I have to go after the money before I can do anything, which is not really true. And of course, there are things out there that you can do that doesn't require money as well. So trying to tap into that for one, and secondly, just breaking down all these stories I've told myself in the past around money.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. That is a really common one, I think, for all of us. So I'm glad that you shared that, because of the fact that in this community, this conscious community, there is sometimes a demonization of money. But when we redefine money as an energy, as an exchange of energy, and that it helps enable us to be able to do what it is that we're here to do, it can kind of shift that, and we can reestablish a new relationship with money, one that serves the cause and serves the greater collective as well of ourselves. So yeah, I really feel you. That's been a journey for myself as well. And we've got Hannah.
For me, my barrier probably is the notion that there aren't many, like I'm not very surrounded by people in my immediate community that I think probably don't have similar genuine interest with what I'm doing, or would be interested in helping out or getting involved in that. So I think even though there probably is, I'm not aware of it, or just lacking those people that are prepared to step forward and talk about the environment or what they're passionate about that have similar interests with me. So I think that is probably a bit of a barrier, that I can't talk to many people that would help me work through difficulties that I was having with my certain project, maybe.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hannah. That is, yeah, having similar people around us can be so supportive, but when we don't have that, it's like, how do we cultivate that? But also what I've found through my journey, and everyone's journey is going to be different, is that when I got loud about things and I spoke up about the certain thing that I was standing for, I was really surprised who responded. I was like, these people will respond, and they won't. And I was wrong. I was so deeply wrong about who I had decided would be in my corner and who wouldn't. And people came out of really strange spots. And then the people I expected to be right there with me were nowhere to be seen. And so it's that interesting thing, like that's such a common block, and I've had exactly the same thing. It's like, how are we, that story not allowing us to actually create that beautiful community as well. But if it isn't there, how do we create or cultivate our own, so that we do feel supported, because we do need to feel supported. And maybe it's this international community, to be able to feel supported, not in your initial community, but in a different space that will still feel that need that we all have. Yeah. And now we have Courtney. There we go, Courtney.
Hey.
Yeah, mine is to do with more of intelligence. Like I've always had this belief that I'm not a super intelligent person. I think that's just more what people have like said over the years, and I'm definitely not like the West person. I like go through life just by feeling things and kind of act on impulse. So yeah, if I can see there's an issue and I can feel there's like sadness or an issue, I instantly like want to go for it. But yeah, definitely like confrontation of intelligence and things like that, like people questioning me about things and me not being like 100% sure of the, of the answer of the study, that kind of thing. Because I know some people will get quite defensive and they'll come at you with that. And so it's really good to know your facts and your figures to support your own knowledge. So yeah, that's something I definitely struggle with and I'm kind of working towards. So yeah, I do need a West on my team. I don't know many Wests, unfortunately. But yeah, that's mine.
Beautiful. Thank you, Courtney. That's one that I came up with a lot when I was younger as well, because I don't remember facts and figures. And I think we give a lot of validation to people who do. And my mum described it in a really beautiful way one day to me, because I was like so angry that I was like, I'd get into these conversations or debates with people and I'd be like, I know my stuff, and yet I'm failing to be able to communicate this because of my lack of ability to be able to do the facts and figures. And my mum was like, Karina, you're actually a forest person. Like what you see is the overarching thing. You are the person who can see the big picture, the concept, the big visions. You're not a tree person. The tree people are the details, the data, the facts, and the figure people. And it's like both of us are just as valid and just as intelligent. It's just different ways that we understand and incorporate that into our minds and understand life. And so I've really found that when I heard that, and then me being able to explain to people what type of person I am and how I understand life, but also I've been like hearing all of you share before was so beautiful, because you are all from such diverse perspectives and there's such wisdom in this group, and that's what me and Kate are really. We come from a place of being like, we are not the specialists. We are not the wise people teaching you. It's like you guys have such amazing intelligence already living inside of you. It's just allowing the space for that to be able to activate and come back. And so that, yeah, I feel you on that, Courtney. So then we've got Rose. Rose. Where are you, Rose?
So am I on? Okay, so my barrier would probably be just confidence and my ability to like lead and influence people. I feel like sometimes it's like, well, who am I to like, share this with somebody, or like who's gonna actually like want to join my community and stuff, which I know it's like not true, but I that definitely comes up.
Yeah, that's such a big one. Is like I feel like everyone goes in and it's like, who the fuck am I to be doing anything? And it's like, who the fuck am I not to be doing this stuff? But yeah, I think that's where the self week is so important, for that coming back to, well, I don't need to be anyone special. I'm a human being that's just offering the best I can do to the world, and that's all I can do, and that is beautiful in itself. It's like that has helped me to be able to not feel like, because I'm not a facts and figure person as well, but like that's like being that specialist and waiting until I've got all of this training and all this more training, because it's like one of my friends is like that, and she never offers anything out into the world because she's constantly upskilling herself and training herself. And although that is beautiful and we should always upskill and train ourselves, it's like there's never an ending, because for her there's not an enough of like, okay, well, I just want to offer this as myself, because it's like, well, we're just human beings, and that's enough. So that's beautiful. So thank you for sharing. And Yeah, cool. Have I got Elizabeth? Sorry, Elizabeth. You're good to go.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I guess my challenge is that I am a Pisces Aries cusp, so I've got north and east in me, and I have a lot of fire that's been coming up in all of this that I don't really know how to tame, other than literally just sitting in nature and walking barefoot and putting my hands in the dirt is the way that I found myself to ground and sort of slow down in all of this. But I think that I have found that I get really, really heated and it becomes more of an internal heat. And I sort of go down a rabbit hole a lot of times of, just believing or um, not believing how people can still be so unaware. And I get really frustrated with sort of the idiocy of humanity. And that's not really, it's not productive at all. It's not constructive in any way, because, people just aren't there yet and the world is not there yet. And, I know that there's a way that I can sort of tame this fire into a more constructive and creative way. And I, am trying to practice what I preach, but also not preach, but more so just live by example. So I think that taming my fire has been kind of the biggest challenge for me in all of this. And it's, yeah, just a lot of sort of standing in my own way. And I seem to sort of, when I get frustrated or feel like I'm at a dead end, I start making excuses for a lot of things that I feel like I'm not doing that I could be doing. And so, yeah, it's about sort of overcoming those excuses or working around those obstacles instead of letting them be dead ends.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I love this. Greetings from Fire Sister is what Jackie has said.
Yeah.
I feel like the fire and the taming it, and I almost want to share like less of a taming and more of a directing of it, which is what you were saying before. You'd already spoke about that, the fact that you wanted to direct it in a different way, and I feel like I just really want to celebrate the Fire Sisters out there, because we have been told we are not allowed to have that space and to be quiet, to sit down and be quiet. As women who are big and fiery and passionate and large, we've been told we're too much. And it's like that too muchness actually is like, it's like, how do we allow space for that, but then also direct it so it's like this force to be reckoned with, but in like a positive and beautiful way. And it's like that redefining of the fire is just amazing. Oh, sorry, Rose has to go, so good night, Rose. And Courtney has to go. Beautiful. Yeah. And so I've gotten a bit confused with the thing on the side. Who hasn't spoken that wanted to speak? Could you add your names? Because I'm a bit confused. Who's next? Sorry. Or if there's anyone next. Did I miss somebody? Gabby. Okay. Right. Sorry. Beautiful. Gabby, you should be out.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, great. My internet has been a little bit weird, but I'll give it a go. I guess there's one narrative that I particularly hold on to, and I know it's so silly to keep believing, but I guess saying no to other things that are going to take me off track to my goals. And I guess that can be like social obligations, family obligations, all these things that I guess, deprive me of time and working on these things I'm so passionate about. And I think that stems from this feeling of, or like a belief that I'll isolate myself, or people won't tolerate me if I do spend time on these things. And I do spend time alone working on myself and working on these goals. And I think, I feel this need to prove myself to other people, or prove my love for other people by being there physically and being there socially, instead of giving myself time. So that's been a massive barrier for me.
Sorry, I'm muted. That's a hard one, isn't it? Because we're constantly, people demand our time and energy. And I really come back to that boundary thing of like that I do two things. I have like a filter question where it's like, is this helping serve my biggest purpose and my direction, and what I want to cultivate in life, but also that boundary of like, well, I need to have that solid boundary. But it's a really difficult one when you've got, I've got quite complex health things in my family, and being able to be there, but also getting this massive call and pull, and to do that stuff, balance, but also being gentle on ourselves. It's like, well, actually, it's okay to not always be working on things all the time. We've still got to be able to be at times with our loved ones, and that's okay as well. Beautiful. And we have Annie. Here you go.
Definitely, even on that, it's like, why are we creating this perfect world that we want to live in if we don't give ourselves the time to be with the people we want to share it with? Just on the end of what you were saying, Karina. But I feel like I have a lot of subconscious limits. So consciously, like, I feel like I'm smart enough to know that they're bullshit thoughts, or that it's not true, but it's definitely there subconsciously, so you don't even see it coming. And I have, I guess, from growing up in a very my family is not into the environment or doesn't care, and very money driven. I have this fear of judgment for being who I really am. So even talking about certain issues, or even like quitting my job in a bank and moving to something that was more environmentally related, I get held back subconsciously, because I'm worried that I'll lose relationships with people in my family who don't support it. And even if those relationships are somewhat toxic in that way, it's very hard to say goodbye to your parents or lose that relationship for a short amount of time. Well, hopefully they get over it. So definitely fear of judgment for being who I am is my biggest challenge. And it's definitely not something like, when I think about a job or moving jobs, I don't consciously go, oh, but what will Dad think? It's something so much more deep rooted and subconscious that I'll just kind of maybe put it off and I'll make excuses or think of something else for a while. And then when I really hone in, or like meditate or think about it, I always come back to the same thing, and it's the same problem over and over.
The sneaky ones, they're always like like, woo! You're like, where did you come from?
I know, and you're like, didn't I deal with that last time? Just not. It's constant work.
Yeah. Like, I've already.
Yeah, and I think it's good also to remember that it is constant work, and it's okay if there is no end. Like, it's okay if it comes up forever, as long as you have those strategies each time to get over it as fast as possible, so you can get back to like kicking butt and saving the planet. So I think I had to let go of these ideas that I was going to be fixed, or this problem would go away. It's kind of like, well, it's okay if it doesn't. It's pretty ingrained from my childhood, and like, just deal with it.
Yeah. And I think you've tapped on that so beautifully and shared that so beautifully around, like, with our shadows, sometimes it's not about, there's some healing that we can do with them, but also for me, a lot of the time it's about a dance. It's like, that's why we're talking and putting them into this space, because it's like what you said, is like, it's around how do we dance with them so that they're no longer controlling, but they're part of our dynamic of how we move in life and how we can negotiate life. And but yeah, it's a hard one around that judgment and the family when there's conflicting things. But I think like for me, it's really helped around not that I've had the same circumstance, but connecting ourselves with belonging to the earth has really helped me to be able to move past judgment of others, because it's like or needing to desperately belong somewhere. Not that's what you're doing, but like because there's this deep knowing of this larger family that I belong to, and it's like actually that is my home and I don't need to belong. And it's helped me because I was very much in my head about wanting everyone to love me when I was younger, like everyone to love me. I was a bit obsessive. And then moving past that and actually being like, and when I really connected with the earth wisdom, with the earth, it was like, actually, I don't need to belong anywhere. I already belong to the most profound community and earth. And like that knowing like helped me to be able to let people go, but also bring other people in, but also to stand with those people who do not agree with me, and for them to accept me more willingly because I'm doing it from a really deep place. So it feels less threatening to them because of this, like there's a softness in my stance. Like it's not like, I don't like you, you're not great kind of thing. It's like, and so I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna do something else. It's like, actually, I'm doing this because like I'm soft and I'm connected and this is who I am. And I feel like more and more people are responding to that because it comes from like a less tension and friction space. But yeah, it's a really tricky one. But I love that your awareness is so beautiful and that dance is already happening. It's great. So thank you. Have I got everyone, by the way? Yes? Good. Okay. So thank you so much to everyone for sharing. The idea of this is to be able to connect with each other on a deeper level and know that we've got shared, like everyone I'm sure could heard it, well, everyone's, and be like, I can relate to that in some way, but also to shine a light on that, what barrier it is and how we might look at it ourselves and move around it and move through it so that we can really be like, all right, I'm in this, I'm stepping forth, I'm facing that fear, I'm pushing that edge, I'm finding my edge and I'm making it larger. My bubble is becoming bigger of my comfort so I can take up more space and I can be bigger and grander in my purpose and going forth. So yeah, so I'll hand over to Kate.
It is time to say goodbye. Please, let's use the Facebook page as a resource and to stay in touch as we go through all of these things and as we start to think about the campaigns and the strategy for next week as we expand from our community and think bigger picture into the world. And stay connected to this little community that we're creating, and feel free to reach out and collaborate and work together and create things. And I think just to close us out, let's just close our eyes together and just take a few deep breaths and just feel into how it feels to be in community with each other. To feel supported and held and know that you belong here. Know that you belong in the world, wherever you are always. And that you are so supported and loved. A few deep breaths. I'm slowly opening your eyes. One more time. Thank you so much for staying with us. Any closing remarks, Serena?
What was that? Okay.
I just asked if you have any closing remarks before we end up.
Sorry. No, I'm just so grateful for all of you beautiful people. I love that we are extending our community more and more. And yeah, the world is our last week, and I'm really excited about seeing these seeds that were planted or were already planted before this course just come up and develop into these amazing plants that are going to offer these beautiful roses into the earth. So thank you everyone for being with us. I'll share what I needed to on the Facebook page. Yeah, I really invite you again, just as a reminder, to share your wisdom on there. There's so many resources that I heard tonight. And this is how we build community. This is how we support community. And this is how we potentially create collaborations as well. So thank you.
Good night, and we'll see you next week.